Whoops. Wrong screen. Let's do this one. What's going on, bad guy? What's going on, Amber C? Oh, wait. Hold on. I got to drink some water. Oh, okay. Let's go. I'm O Speaks. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share. It's a lot of you were talking crazy at the beginning of the season. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the unaliving that happened in Minnesota, but more importantly, how it got there. We're at a point right now where Ashley Babbitt, around the same age as this woman, gets shot by a police officer in the Capitol, and that police officer got a medal. Here we have a woman trying to run over an ICE officer, and we're seeing protests. I find that to be weird, but coming from the left, it makes perfect sense because that's what they do. Anything that favors their opinions gets sensationalized. Anything that does not, they will ignore, or even worse, they will rally against that person, like Ashley Babbitt, who was actually in the military. She served, I believe, in the Air Force. Could be wrong about that, but she was not attacking an officer. She was just outside of the Capitol, or not the Capitol, she was just outside the building as one of the protesters on January 6th, and he decided to shoot her, and he unalived her. Got an award, got interviewed by the press, got celebrated. People were actually mad that he was getting threats. So he took a woman's life, and he got threatened. Very, very, very strange, because now we're seeing the exact opposite. So we're going to get right to this. Again, this is more about how we got here. I'm not laughing at what happened. I'm laughing at how insane you would have to be okay with one unaliving and be protesting about another one when the circumstances for the one that's in your supposed favor is outrageously obvious. But I'll let you guys decide. You already have my opinion. We're just starting, and you already have my opinion. So let's get started. Actually, I won't even give a background because I'm going to work backwards in this live. I'm going to show what happened with her first, and again, we're going to talk about how we got to that point, because it should have never gotten to that point. And the story is even more ridiculous when you see what this woman is out there blocking traffic for, and how this all started. And we're going to start with CNN coverage, which is even more atrocious, because I thought they were starting to finally get back to being somewhat neutral. Not really, but at least closer to the center left. What's going on, Phoenix Rising? But they're not. CNN is, you're about to see something absurd. So I'm just going to play it so you can see how absurd our mainstream media still is. They haven't learned anything. I don't think they ever will. So yeah, here we go.
For the first time, we are seeing the fatal Minneapolis shooting from the ICE officer's point of view, footage taken on his own cell phone. It's a critical angle of many cameras on the street that captured Renee Good's fatal encounter with ICE agent Jonathan Ross. Using surveillance footage, bystander video, and Ross's own phone, CNN synced multiple perspectives of the shooting and mapped this incident in 3D space. Taken together, they show the fullest picture yet of what happened that day. A home surveillance camera captures a moment Renee Good pulls up in a maroon-colored Honda SUV, 4 minutes before the shooting. 20 seconds after she arrives, her passenger and wife, Becca, wearing a white beanie, gets out of Good's car. Good then parks the SUV perpendicular in the road. Here's how Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem described what Good did.
ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day.
Available video doesn't show any possible contact Good may have had with ICE before this confrontation. What this video does show is that for a few minutes, while she is perpendicular to the roadway, several vehicles drive by. Even large SUVs are able to drive around her as she moves back and forth on the street.
Why do they have to drive around her? So the real reason why she's doing this is for the last few weeks, people have been protesting ICE, and this is how they're blocking them out. They let some people pass, but they look and they find they're like on radios, and they're telling each other, okay, ICE is in, we'll just say a red Celica, right? So they look for that red Celica, and then they start moving in the middle of the street, blocking them. That's what this is. So this lady's saying she was parked perpendicular, but she's moving out the way. People are able to get around her, completely ignoring the fact that she's parked perpendicular. You can't do that. Well, she's moving out the way for some of the cars. Yeah, she's going back and forth, back and forth. All right. And why is she doing it? Whoever this person is talking is just completely ignoring that part. They could have gotten around. It's illegal. You can't do this. And here she is doing it.
Street, and that includes this light-colored SUV. It slowly drives around Good's car from the rear and stops. Agent Jonathan Ross is recording video from his cell phone as he crosses in front.
So again, even looking at this angle, why is this okay? Why would you do this? Why are you parked like this? Clearly there's a reason for it.
Of Good's car, recording as he sees her up close. She looks calm, and you can see both of her hands as she talks to the officer.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad for it.
Renee Good's wife, Becca, who had been the passenger in the car, approaches. Cell phone cameras on the street start recording as Ross walks around Good's car with Good's wife following.
I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Renee Good backs her car up as the agent walks around the front of the vehicle. At the same time, on the other side, two more agents approach. One tries to open the door as Good backs up. Good's vehicle starts moving. From Ross's cell phone video, you see Becca, the woman in the white beanie, trying to get into the car again. You also see Renee Good turning the steering wheel to the right. She then accelerates. Slowing this down again and matching the exact time of these two angles. This angle appears to show the vehicle moving close to the agent. But in this angle, he does not appear to be in the path of the vehicle when he fired.
Shame! Oh my God! What the
Seconds later, Becca Good runs to her wife, followed by the agent.
So there's a reason why this reporter added that she was turning the wheel, because that's one of the narratives that they're pushing right now. And they're saying, well, she turned the wheel, so he knew he wasn't coming at her. This all happened in seconds. Split seconds. Like you to even use that is weird, but that's what they want to do. That's what they're doing. That's okay. This is not good. Obviously, somebody's no longer alive. A child no longer has one of their moms. But we can't have this and pretend like this is normal behavior and have protests over it. I mean, obviously, you can protest anything you want, but we're now to the point in society where a woman can do this, park in the middle of the street, try to block ICE officers from doing their job, federal officers from doing their job, and then get protests on her behalf. When it goes bad, like, I don't know how else it can go when you're trying to run over a police officer. But that's okay. Keep listening to this reporter.
Who fired his weapon. He briefly looks into the driver's side of the car and then walks away.
Shame!
Now, what we cannot see in Ross's cell phone video is if the SUV made contact with the agent because the camera angle jerks up to the sky.
Again, I'm not laughing at what happened. I'm laughing at the nerve of her to say we could not see if he was actually hit. So I got clearer footage to show that he was definitely hit. But she has the same footage. There's no reason for her to say this. There's no reason for her to pretend like we have no idea if there was contact. The whole point of this story on CNN was to show all the new angles and all the angles so we could see everything. And then we see everything, and she still denies that the lady hit him.
What we cannot see in Ross's cell phone video is if the SUV made contact with the agent because the camera angle jerks up to the sky.
It jerked up to the sky because he was hit by a car. Anyway.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my
And I think most people, when they saw this originally, only saw this first officer who's approaching the car and grabs at the door.
No!
That one. I think they saw him. I don't think they saw the one who was coming out of the car on the other side, who was standing right in front of her SUV. So they immediately jumped the gun, which they always do, and said that an ICE officer just opened fire on an unarmed person. No, actually, a car is probably one of the biggest weapons you can have. We've seen what cars do to crowds and people. So I don't even know why that was the narrative. But there is an officer right in front, and there's going to be a better view of that.
No! Shame! Shame! Oh my God! What the? What the? You just what the?
what we cannot see in Ross's cell phone video is if the SUV made contact with the agent because the camera angle jerks up to the sky.
There it is. Literally hit him and knocks him back. Literally hits him. It can't be
When
clear,
we go and we do a video breakdown.
So this is a legal perspective, but every time I've heard them say, I think there was a politician who said he could have jumped off to the side and shot the tires. These people, it's like they're living in a movie and they don't understand what reality is. The guy was hit by a car coming at him. It's weird that CNN would even push that narrative that, well, we don't know because from his angle, the phone jerked up in the air and we just couldn't see anything. It's like, all right, come on. You have no honesty, like there's no integrity in this story that you're really doing that. While the caption says that the video captured pivotal moments of his shooting, they said that they synced it all at the beginning of this. So you synced it all, you see everything that happens, and you still pretend like you don't see what you see. And I believe it was the mayor who said he could have jumped out the way and shot at her tires. That's like Joe Biden when he said, you know, if somebody breaks in your home, shoot their leg or something like that. It's like, what planet are these people on? They've been out of society for so long that they think that that's a realistic way to look at things.
When we go and we do a video breakdown of this right here, it's all going to be focused on, was this officer, the one you can barely see here, or in this case, this officer right here, same guy, was he actually placed in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury? In general, there are 4 legal justifications for using lethal force. These are them right here. We're going to ignore 3 of them because we're going to just talk about this first one right here, which is that you yourself are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. If this officer was in fact in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, he probably has legal justification for using lethal force. Now, I think we can probably all agree that getting run over by a car is certainly imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. So if that was a possibility, if that actually was the reality of what could occur, then there is a strong likelihood that the officer's actions here were lawfully justified. But for all of the people, the Jacob Frays of the world and everything like that, that are just coming to their own legal conclusion, might I remind them to check out what Minnesota law says. For example, Minnesota Statute 609.066, authorized use of deadly force by peace officers. Oh, there's a statute directly on point in Minnesota that talks about when peace officers may use lethal force? Yeah, there is. And here's what the statute says. A, notwithstanding the provisions of section 609.06 or 609.065, the use of deadly force by a peace officer in the line of duty is justified only if an objectively reasonable officer would believe, based on the totality of circumstances known to the officer at the time and without the benefit of hindsight, that such force is necessary, and necessary to do one of the following. 1, to protect the peace officer or another from death or great bodily harm, provided that the threat, 1, can be articulated with specificity, 2, is reasonably likely to occur absent action by the law enforcement officer, and 3, must be addressed through the use of deadly force without unreasonable delay. Which is a fancy legal way of saying you need to be able to articulate a very good reason and prove to us that you really did not have any other options. Now, the imminency, that is, how quickly could this happen, is always a critical component. So had the officer who discharged the firearm maybe been 30 yards down the road and had plenty of time to get out of the way, this would be an entirely different equation here. But let us remember that the officer is directly in front of the vehicle at the time that she decides to punch it. But then there's additional statutes that would apply to anybody in this situation, whether they're a peace officer or not. Take, for example, Minnesota Statute 609.065, justifiable taking of life. That statute specifically states, the intentional taking of the life of another is not authorized by section 609.06, except when necessary in resisting or preventing an offense which the actor reasonably believes exposes the actor or another to great bodily harm or death, or preventing the commission of a felony in the actor's place of abode. So if the ICE officer here reasonably believes that they had been exposed to a high probability of serious injury or death, not only themselves or any other fellow officers, they are justified in using lethal force. And then, and of course, Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey.
So that's actually, if the other officer had shot her, he would have been justified also. So the one in front definitely had a reasonable justification for it. But the other officer who was opening her door, he could have done it, and he would have been justified.
should know this because it is Minnesota law, and it took us all of about 10 seconds to look it up. Believe it or not, there is specific law that talks about the authorized use of force against police officers. So let's say that for whatever reason, the now deceased believed that she had absolutely every right in the world to block traffic, to go out and protest, to obstruct, hinder, delay, whatever she was doing with the ICE operations. Understand that this Minnesota law specifically states deadly force used against peace officers. Deadly force may not be used against peace officers who have announced their presence and are performing official duties at a location where a person is committing a crime or an act that would be a crime if committed by an adult. Well, it is very clear that they did announce who they were. They did announce their presence. And what was their whole purpose of being there was to round up people for what? That's right, illegal activity. Okay, and then there's one other little legal issue that we need to discuss. And I do believe that some who believe this was cold-blooded murder are going to start beating on this drum anytime now. And I think it would be relevant if the officer was, in fact, more like 20 or 30 yards down the road and had a serious opportunity to get out of the way of the moving vehicle. Because in Minnesota, believe it or not, they have a duty to retreat. Just another strike against Minnesota, why it is really one of the most terrible states in America right now. But under Minnesota law, if you are in a public place and can safely avoid a confrontation or escape from danger, the law requires you to do so before resorting to force. All right, and again, if we take this officer right here, put him all the way down the street here, then I think we could at least analyze this under a duty to retreat. But when you are a mere few feet from the front of a vehicle, which is clearly hell-bent on accelerating in your direction, you don't really have that opportunity to retreat. So, America, seeing both of these video clips, understanding the legal framework, what's your opinion? Do you believe that this was a justified use of lethal force, or do you believe this was excessive force and thus constitutes a homicide?
This woman.
I should have priority did this. I'm curious if there is anyone who believes that it was not justified. So I'm going to do this just in case, and I'll leave it up there. I'll leave it pinned. I mean, you can come up either way, but I'm really, really curious to see if anybody actually believes that that was a homicide. This guy was interesting. Somebody sent me this yesterday, and I was like, okay, I got to use this. This is really good.
Who is now dead. Sadly, she leaves a child and a wife. And it shouldn't have happened. I have a right to comment on this more than 99.9% of all of you. So listen to what I'm fucking saying here. Why? Because I am the protester. You understand this? For 35 years, this is what I've been doing. Thousands of protests, dozens upon dozens of arrests. And the reason I am still here, or I don't have stitches from a fucking billy club, or I don't have marks from a taser, is right here in this image. Every single time that I have been arrested, you will notice my hands I place behind my back, as I am told when I get arrested. I do not resist, I do not spit, I do not curse, I do not struggle, I do not fight or be aggressive towards the authorities who are there to arrest me, because when we protest, we step over a line that is there, and that line happens to be called the fucking law. And thank God in this country, we can step over that line sometimes, but we have to understand that we are now in a different zone, because that cop over there, I think his kids got leukemia. That cop over there, I know, was in a bank robbery last night with the thugs, and he got shot at, and he's back out in the street, but he's all high tension. And that guy over there, that cop, I know his wife is fucking a mailman, so I'm in the high tension area. And these fuckers have guns, batons, and tasers. We have a system in this country, it's called a court of fucking law. And whether I'm wrong or right in the situation, officer, I didn't do anything wrong. Put your hands behind your back. Yes, sir. And I will take that up with the judge and prove my innocence. I do not bring the courtroom right there at that high tension fucking moment. Do you get what I'm saying, people? So, this woman would still be alive. I don't think she was the kind of woman that would have done what she did, which was resist and be aggressive towards the authorities, as you see in the video, and you go fight about that. But let's get to the base here. The base is the wife is probably looking to sue Trump or the police or the ICE or this or that. She needs to look at the Democrat, liberal politicians, community activists, and the fucking douchebag, motherfucking self-loathing, divisive cocksuckers in the liberal fucking media that tell her and those like her to resist arrest and be aggressively violent towards any authority.
CBS.
So how did this all start? And again, the link is pinned. If you believe or not, I mean, if you just want to talk about this, the link is still pinned. But does anybody really believe that she was just a sweet mother who was sitting there and all of a sudden ICE just came up and attacked her? Like, come on. Yeah, the wife did, and it didn't end well. It rarely ends well. This is what we tell our people all the time. We tell black people, just comply now so you can live to fight and take this to court and sue and do whatever. You can fight in the courtroom. You cannot fight in the street. It doesn't work. I'm glad well, for several reasons, I'm glad this woman wasn't black. But I'm if she was black, this would be a whole nother George Floyd type of thing where the main reason was because of her skin color. So I'm actually glad that it's not that, because it would create a whole new race thing. That the first report I saw was that she was Somali. So they really wanted that to be the narrative. So I'm glad that that's out of there. I really am. A bull deck. Yeah, it's unfortunate that people put themselves in positions like this and then they get unalive. It's more unfortunate when they're used as a political pawn after they're gone. And you have politicians, you have the mayor, you have all their politicians saying that, this is because she's of that other community. And like the police know when they're coming up who she is. All they do is see a car that's parked in the middle of the street. That's all they see. Whether they're ICE, whether they're police, DEA, any law enforcement, they're going to have to address. They can't just drive around and keep going. But in this instance, we know for a fact that that ICE officers have been intentionally getting blocked in traffic while they're looking for illegal aliens. Because that's what this is about. These protests are about illegal aliens, people who are not supposed to be here. That's what ICE does. Yeah, me too. It is. It's very strange. Yeah, that really happened. Said, I'm amused that there's an actual serious conversation about the situation. She chose violence, and violence won. Unfortunately for her, unfortunately for her family, and anybody else who never warned her that she's acting crazy over politics. Her family should have said something to her. Hey, you're going way too far with this. These are illegal aliens. For that lawyer, not the last guy who spoke, but the one before who was explaining, that video is really good. We'll put the link in here. Hopefully you guys can. Yeah, you can click on that. Very good video. Very good content creator. I subscribed to him. Not in this one. I forget something happened, and his outlook came up, and I really liked it. So I've been subscribed ever since. So I was glad to see him cover this, because that's what he does. He gives the statutes, and then he asks a question. He doesn't even give his opinion. You could kind of tell which way he's leaning based on what he's saying, but I like that. I like how he handles situations like this. He doesn't intentionally throw himself in there and just pick a side, especially when it's pretty cut and dry, in my opinion. But there are a lot of people, especially on, oh my God, X is a cesspool, but especially on X, who are saying that it was not justified, that it was the M word, the unaliving word. And it's like, all right, okay, whatever. If that's what you guys want to believe, that's what you want to believe. But I'm working backwards today. Again, that's what happened recently. That was like 4 days ago. But this is how we got there. In Minnesota, there is a issue.
News is reporting ICE will launch an operation targeting Somalis with deportation orders who live in Minnesota. Local leaders say that is only a fraction of the roughly 80,000 Somalis who live here. The council.
So already, listen to what he said. They're going over there with people who already have deportation issues ordered. That's so important, because people are acting like they're just swarming in and just grabbing anybody. They're not. These people already have orders issued against them. And what does this guy immediately do? He goes, well, that's a very small percentage. It's a very, very small percentage. Who cares? If it was such a very small percentage, why are there people protesting it? Let them go. Let the police or ICE, law enforcement, come in and do their jobs. If it's such a small percentage, like this guy's about to say, then why are people protesting?
Launch an operation targeting Somalis with deportation orders who live in Minnesota.
With deportation orders.
Local leaders say that is only a fraction of the roughly 80,000 Somalis who live here. The Council on American Islamic Relations estimates about 95% of them are U.S. citizens. The mayor of St. Paul cited that number today while he criticized the president.
So what you heard the president say today was that he is incompetent and incapable of being a president for the people of the United States because he just said out loud that he despises Americans.
So he did say he doesn't like. So the president has a problem, and it's always been articulation, right? He's clearly talking about criminals, and he said that they're garbage, and I don't want any of them here. He's clearly talking about the people that he's talking about. The topic is illegal immigrants, corruption, and people from a certain place, in this case, Somalia. He said the same thing about other countries, but in this case, Somalia, right? So he's talking directly about that. What does he say? I don't want them here. I don't want any of them here. Send them all back. Like, he's speaking about the topic. But every time he does this, and it's funny to me, it's really funny to me. But every time he does this, what he does is he speaks on the topic, and then they go and make it about everybody. He says all Somalians are garbage. Well, what were they talking about? What was the context of the conversation? Doesn't matter, because it's him, and we understand that. If you look at this, these are the events that were planned for yesterday and the day before. And this is all over that lady, partially. The other part of this is that it was about the Somali deportations that are happening and the people who are being arrested. Appreciate that, Gw. Like this video if you guys haven't liked it already, please. That really does help. It helps push the video so that we get exposed to other people. It runs in the algorithms when there's an engagement like that. So this here shows that people are on the other side, which is why I really wanted to drop that link and why it's pinned, because there are people who believe that was not justified, or they say that. I don't believe that they believe that, but they say it. So maybe. I'm so glad we're receiving quality learning today. I'll speak. Yeah, I said thanks. What did I miss? Yeah.
Pepper spray on protesters who were blocking cars in a heavily Somali neighborhood in Minneapolis. City Council member Jamal Osman says armed ICE agents went to East African restaurants in the neighborhood and demanded to see people's IDs. Osman says the agents were at a senior housing complex when they were confronted by a group of young protesters with whistles who surrounded their vehicles. Osman says the agents responded with pepper spray.
So this was about 3 weeks ago. They've been doing what she was doing. It just went bad for them this time. You heard her. They've been blocking traffic, blocking in ICE agents, trying to stop them from doing what they do. I don't know how else they thought this was going to go. This is what beautiful one. I just got an alert. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. I didn't even know Beautiful One was in here. She just blessed the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. What's up, Uncle L? Holy crap. Thank you so much. When I say bless the channel, there's blessing me, and I put it back into the work. Hopefully you guys see a difference in the quality and the time that I'm putting in. And I'm doing the drawing channel now. So I'm working. So when somebody does this, it's essentially paying me for my time. And I didn't expect that. So when somebody comes in and just drops money like that, and I was not expecting, I didn't even know she was in here. That's crazy. That's crazy. Thank you so much. Well, when I get monetized, people will understand why I get stopped in my tracks. When Beautiful One comes in and does something like this, that's crazy. That's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate everyone, but like when people do anything, I'm not expecting it because you don't have to do it. So when you do it, that means you want to do it. And that's what I appreciate. It's not an amount. I mean, obviously the amount is significant, but it's really about that, showing love. That's really what it's about. That's really what it's about. It's yeah. Sorry. I don't even know where I was. Oh, okay. They've been doing this for weeks, for almost a month now, and it all started when Trump said what he said, and he didn't say it well, obviously, but he's Trump, and that's what he does. So we're going to hear a little of it in here, but yeah. So this is what was going on, and it led to this woman getting shot, and clearly there are people who believe that she should not have been. Well, nobody wants that to happen, but if you're driving at law enforcement directly and you hit them, I'm not sure what you expect to happen.
No, he's not okay. He's not okay. What happened? They put his right his eye.
ICE officials told the AP via email that they made no arrests in the neighborhood and provided no further details. Minnesota's Somali community, which is the largest in the U.S., has been on edge as President Donald Trump's administration targets the community.
Why is it we only take people from whole countries? We always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
I want to start with you, Mr. Balu. Again, thank you for...
All right, so he said worse than that, actually. That's actually an old clip from something else, and it just worked out that it's now Somalia that we're dealing with. But it's not the country itself. It's very specific people, and there's a very specific thing that they're doing. So I want you guys to listen to this. But this guy's out of Texas. This is a hearing. This is incredible. And then right after this, I'm going to show you guys what he's talking about, because this is insane.
being here. Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the...
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir, could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go into that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, you're using the phrase native Minnesotans. The majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somalis.
Nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here. So, again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again, I keep trying
to... It doesn't sound like something that makes our country stronger to me, and I think most Americans would agree with me on that. I need to move on. Ms. Robbins, when would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on childcare fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade?
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
And what was the Walz administration's response?
They actually did nothing when they got into office, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had been on the committee in the legislature that had hearings on childcare fraud, and when they got into office, they did put $5 million into a little more money, but nothing changed.
But nothing. And let me ask you, Mr. Hudson, thank you for being here. Did those who commit this fraud, do they typically vote for Republicans or Democrats, in your opinion?
In my opinion, thank you for qualifying like that, I would say they most definitely overwhelmingly vote for Democrats.
Do they typically donate to Republicans or Democrats?
Not to my knowledge. They don't donate to Republicans, they donate to Democrats, in my opinion, yes.
Got it. So would you say this is that the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
Got it. So in other words, you're saying that there was a political incentive to cover up widespread Somali fraud. Is that right?
100%.
Got it. Let me ask all three of you. Did the Walz administration and Democrats intentionally, in your opinion, overlook this fraud while it was happening for political gain? I'll start with you, Ms. Robbins.
Absolutely. We have credible whistleblower reports that the Department of Human Services administration, up to the OIG and the commissioner, met with a group called the Minnesota Minority Child Care Association multiple times, and that they were trying to weaken protections. We wanted, we had several changes we wanted to do, and they opposed all of them.
And Mr. Hudson and Ms. Rarick, and then my time is up.
I would agree.
Absolutely. The whistleblowers confirm it.
Got it. Thank you.
So Center for Immigration Studies is a site that just takes all government data on, obviously, and this topic would be immigration. And this is not just, let me be clear, this is not just about Somalis, but it's very important. Let me pull this down. What number are we at? We are at 1408. You remember 1408. It's illegal immigration, period. And then with regular immigration, who are we letting in? And then who are we letting in, and why are we letting them in? Because growing up, I was always told we bring in the best. This is the website, Center for Immigration Studies. This is insane. This is what he was talking about. So this is the welfare rates just in Minnesota by Somalians versus native people of Minnesota. So if you're born there, that's not included here. So that's why when the guy was trying to make a distinction, it doesn't really matter, because they're talking about immigrants. They're not talking about natives. So of the people coming here who are not from here, who are not natives, 81% are on welfare. And this is just Somali immigrant households. The ones who've been here for 10 years, still 78% of them are on welfare. That's what this shows right here. That's astounding. It's crazy. And it leads over into each one of these benefits. So if you look at cash benefits of Somalis, and again, we're not just talking about Somalis, but what we're talking about is in Minnesota right now. I'm going to show you guys the actual immigration overall for the country. And it really mirrors this, which is, it makes you wonder, like, what is this? 27% get cash of Somali household immigrants in Minnesota. And then a quarter of them who've already been here 10 years, meaning for us, for Black people and Hispanic people and citizens, period, typically, and I told you guys how I went through this with my mom, you have to keep coming back and proving why you can't work. You don't just get stuff. These people have been here 10 years, this gray column here, 10 years, and a quarter of them are still getting welfare, cash. So you're telling me none of them can get a job? None of them can get a job? After 10 years. After 10 years, a quarter of all the people, immigrants from Somalia, still sit on welfare. That's not good. Why did they come here? So when you see the reason why Nigerian immigrants are so successful, because they come here and get right to work. And I'm not disrespecting anybody else, but this is the same thing with the Mexicans who come here to work. I don't really have an issue with that. I have a problem if it's illegal, but at least they're doing something. They're trying, right? Cubans, huge success rate when they get here, because they're coming here to work. They're not just coming here to stay on welfare, to the tune of a quarter of all of them after 10 years. After 10 years, you should be an owner of something. You should have a business of some kind. So if you look at food stamps, over half of Somali immigrants in Minnesota get food stamps. After 10 years, still half of them, 48%, still get food stamps. Why? You've been here 10 years, you're still getting cash, you're still getting food stamps. The worst one here, the most expensive one here, is Medicaid. 73% of Somali immigrants in Minnesota get Medicaid. They can go to the doctor. Even after 10 years, 68% of them are still on Medicaid. They are coming here. And I'm saying they, I'm just talking about them. I'm not saying they as these people or those people. This is not about race. This is about, from a very specific demographic, these people are coming here. The worst part about this whole chart is the people who are actually from here on welfare is 21%. Why is there such a vast difference? Even after 10 years, why is there such a vast difference? 3/4 of the people who go to Minnesota stay on welfare. Stays on welfare. Same thing with cash. Only 6% of people from Minnesota. This includes the Somalis who are from Minnesota. That's why the guy who kept trying to say, well, you know, a large portion of them are from, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the ones who are from here. They're still only 6%, which means they've assimilated. That's why I don't know if he's from the Senate. I believe he's from the House. That's why our congressman from Texas said, he brought up whether or not they speak English. How are you here 10 years and you still can't speak English? Half of them still can't speak English. You're not coming here to assimilate. You're coming here to live off of me and you and everybody in this chat. 7% of people in Minnesota who are born in Minnesota are on food stamps. Over half of Somali immigrants come in straight to welfare. So again, I'm not against welfare for a period of time. If you ask me, 6 months, good. If you're a citizen of the United States, I think you should get 1 year. 1 year to get your life together, but you're not getting back on. Like, that's it. A year is a long time in this country, especially if you're here in Texas. You could drive down to 10, and there's one of the most fascinating things about when I moved here to Houston was how many businesses there are. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And I'm from Chicago, a big city. But I lived in LA, I've lived in Orange County, California, I've lived in Phoenix. When we came here, it's nothing but businesses. It's crazy. Like, you can go miles without seeing a house. It's all businesses, which is a very good indicator of a place that's thriving. How are these people? Yes, I agree. Beautiful one said Russians. There are demographics who come here and get straight to work. Indians is another demographic. They get straight to work. All Asians, for the most part. They get straight to work. They go to school. They thrive in our school system. I don't mind that. I have no problem with that because they're contributing. Now, we still got to watch some people for spies and all that, but that's a very, very small fraction. This is something different, though, because you have the native population of people in Minnesota. Only 18% are on Medicaid, which means look at the size of this demographic here that is on Medicaid, eating up social benefits that are supposed to be for citizens. So if you go down, the numbers almost mirrored. These are households with children. So native households with children. The numbers are going to be higher up because obviously children require more, right? So these numbers are pretty much the same. But still, 30% of natives are on. 90% of Somalis who come here with children are on welfare. And these numbers, again, they pretty much mirror the other table. They're a little bit higher, obviously, again, because they're kids. But it's beyond absurd because we essentially have people coming here from poverty. And they are, I don't want to say milking the system, but I don't know what you call this. I really don't know what you call this. So sample sizes, okay, I'm not. And then here, you can look at the sample sizes. These are huge sample sizes. So they know that these numbers are real. But this is not just Somalia. So let me back out of here and go into overall, because this is a really serious issue that I don't think people, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, no, they're not allowed to be on welfare. No, they're allowed to be on welfare. So again, Center for Immigration Studies, let me pull this up. This is the whole country, not Somalia, not any of that. So this is out of US born households, 39% are on some form of welfare, which is not good. 40% is a big number. But more interesting is the green column are immigrant headed households. Over half of all immigrants come here and get straight on welfare. The worst number possible is non-citizen headed households in the United States. Non-citizens, 60% come here and get straight on welfare. These are illegal aliens. So every time I see a politician say, oh, no, they don't. That's not true. They don't get on. They're not allowed benefits. They're not citizens. Oh, really? Because 60% are on welfare. And the cash is the same thing. So when they get here as regular immigrants, so legal immigrants, 22% are on cash benefits. Illegals, 22%. Why? Why do they get cash benefits? The number here, US born households should be higher than these two numbers. Because that means we're helping citizens, people who are from here, who are supposed to be protected. But what we're seeing is illegals are getting more assistance than citizens. But every politician you see, you're going to see it. Now you're going to pay attention. When they're talking about welfare and illegals getting cash and getting this, they're lying. They're lying to you. Show her this video. Please show her this video. Because this is the Center for Immigration Studies. This is their website. They get more benefits than we do, except for housing. But why do they get any housing? That number is equal. So on public housing, Section 8, housing, assistance, illegals get the same coverage as citizens. That's why the wait is so long. And that's why the wait has always been so long for Section 8 benefits. I have family members who were on that waiting list forever. Well, now I know why. Because there's an equal amount of regular immigrants and then illegal immigrants in that line, making it 3 times longer than it should take for an American citizen to get help. This is how I look at these numbers. I don't look at it like everybody else does. I don't care about illegal aliens. I don't. When I see somebody get, picked up and taken and shipped off to another country, I don't care. They're not supposed to be here. And I've said this 1,000 times. An illegal alien running running a stop sign or stoplight is worse than me running a stop sign. You know why? Because if I hit somebody, I can be held responsible. Whether I have insurance or not, they can come after me. They know who I am. If he does it or she does it, nobody knows who they are. They can just disappear. They can go home or move to another state like this where they let anything happen. Minnesota, Illinois, unfortunately. There are sanctuary states who will not do anything about it. So any crime, I don't care if you're stealing a pack of gum, you shouldn't be stealing a pack of gum. You shouldn't be allowed or able to because you shouldn't be here. So your crime is worse than mine. There's repercussions for what I'm doing. Medicaid, look at the number. How many times have we heard, well, they're not going to cut off Medicaid and Medicare for U.S. citizens, but they talk about how big the number is? Only a quarter of citizens are on it. The rest is illegals, 42%. I have no issue with immigrants because once they become naturalized, they're now citizens, even though I have a whole nother rant for that. I have a whole nother rant for that. But at least if you're a citizen, you're a citizen. You now have the right for this. This peach column on each of these should be 0. These numbers are astronomical when you look overall because they should not be getting anything because they should not be here. What did Ms. Phoenix say? A group of people has no legal right to be here is taking resources from actual taxpayer. Yeah. And anytime, going off on a rant here. Anytime you hear somebody say, well, they pay taxes too. No, they don't. No, they don't. They pay they pay consumption taxes. They don't pay income taxes because they don't report income. So yeah, they're going to pay taxes that everyone else pays, depending on your state. At 8.75 in one state, 11% in another state, 7% in another state. Here we don't have sales tax, so they're not paying taxes here. Okay, so they illegally own a home and they're using somebody else's name to pay property tax. Okay, but it's not the same. Their tax burden is nothing like an American citizen's tax burden. It's just not. It's all consumption. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and you guys know I'm not a reparations guy. I can't get reparations, but an illegal can come here and get cash, healthcare, food stamps, and housing to the tune of more than me. I got a problem with this. I got a big problem with this. And these numbers are real. So when people say they don't get welfare, they're lying to you or they're too lazy to look it up. And I'd still chalk that up as lying because you should know this by now. This is welfare use by natives or nativity or legal status. Again, U.S. born head of households is below every stat except for housing, but even the housing is equal. It should not be equal. There's no reason why illegal aliens throughout this country get more benefits than American citizens. Now, what they'll say is, well, the overall number, and they'll start going to quantity now. Now they're saying, well, there's 300 million Americans. And it's like, okay, but that's not what we're talking about. For every one American, there's 4 illegals getting this benefit. So it's frustrating to see, but that's what this whole Somali thing is about. You're really about to be annoyed now. So because we're gonna get into the we don't need to look at that. It's important, but if you want to see this site, I put the links to this website and both of these specific pages in my description. So the Somali population right now has figured something out, and you guys are about to get really, really annoyed. So this is a trigger alarm or trigger notice for you guys right now, because you're going to be annoyed by the end of this, because this is crazy. And I was talking to my wife and I was like, I don't want to cover this because I want to cover the Candace Owens thing, because I believe the Candace Owens thing is the biggest story of our lifetimes. And I'll explain why in the next live. But that's regarding citizens. That's not monetary, but it's bad. It's really bad. But this, I didn't want to cover because I'm like, everybody knows what's going on. It's pretty straightforward. There's fraud. But I don't know if people understand how much fraud, because my wife started asking me, well, what kind of fraud? I'm like, you haven't been seeing it? She's like, no, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should go over this before I get back to Candace Owens. But once I start looking at it, and I was telling somebody about it the other day, they're like, really? I'm like, oh, so people really don't understand what's going on in the Somali community right now. So let's get back to the video. Sorry about the rant. Sorry.
In Minnesota, a massive fraud scandal is gaining national attention. Federal prosecutors say at least $1 billion in taxpayer funds, money intended to feed children during the pandemic, was stolen in a widespread scheme.
$1 billion fraud scandal is shaking Minnesota politics and putting Governor Tim Walz on defense.
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail.
Prosecutors say over $1 billion in taxpayer funds was stolen, money meant to feed children, house the homeless, and treat those with autism. Those convicted so far are mostly members of Minnesota's Somali community, accused of billing the state for services that never existed. President Trump slamming Governor Walz for allowing this rampant fraud to happen on his watch.
I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia.
I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals.
The first fraud charges came in 2022 against Feeding Our Future, accused of using taxpayer money for luxury cars and real estate instead of food for kids. But state officials had raised red flags 2 years earlier, questioning suspicious invoices. The New York Times reports the group pushed back, warning the state that delaying approval for minority-owned businesses would lead to a racism lawsuit. A later state audit found some officials were hesitant to crack down, fearing racism accusations in the post-George Floyd climate.
Immigration.
So again, and no, beautiful one, this is worse. It's way worse than this. They're now up to tens of billions of dollars just in Minnesota, and just within the Somali community alone. This is not about anybody else. So we know there's going to be other communities that are doing this. Some we can't really mention, but we know there's fraud, but this is just the Somali community. Tens of billions. It's insanity. So you heard what Walt said, and this is what they always do. But it wasn't what Walt said. She said about that people are scared to be called racist. We're seeing this right now with the whole Zionist movement and being called anti-Semitic. This is just they found that playbook to be so effective that now they're using it, and they've taken it from us. Because if you do it, they're still going to say, "Oh, come on, here we go. We got Negro fatigue. We got black fatigue. You Negroes, just stop. We know that it's not." Now they're using it. A month later, here they are calling everybody anti-Semitic. And this is what they do. This is what the left does is they find a playbook and they run with it until it doesn't work anymore. That's what makes the Candace Owens thing really important. But again, we'll talk about that in the next live. But they're doing it here, and they got people so scared to be called a racist that they allow millions and hundreds of millions to the tune of billions of dollars to be stolen because they don't want to get that label thrown out. That's great.
And Customs Enforcement launched an operation reportedly targeting Somali nationals in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region of Minnesota Wednesday. The new enforcement coming after the president ripped into the Somali community.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody will say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
Minnesota is home to the largest Somali community in the country, and the Trump administration is investigating a $1 billion fraud.
So again, if you take that if you just look at that, you're like, oh, geez, why is he talking about Somalia like that? But the context is they're talking about very specific people committing fraud in a very specific place. He does not differentiate. So it comes out like that, and it's like, oh, geez. I don't defend it because I find it funny, to be honest with you. Because it's clear to me what he's doing and who he's talking about. Because he talks about who he's talking about. There's nobody else extra. When he's talking about Rosie O'Donnell, I'm not going to say, oh, he hates all large white women of that community. No, I'm just to say he really doesn't like Rosie O'Donnell. But it sounds bad, and it gives the left ammo against him. I wish he would be more careful, but then I wouldn't be laughing as much as I do when I watch him. It's hilarious.
Claim in the state where public assistance tax dollars have allegedly been funneled to terrorist organizations based in Somalia. Trump targeted Somali American Congresswoman Ilhan Omar in his rant.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage.
He's always been a racist, a bigot, a xenophobic, and Islamophobic.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says he welcomes the investigation into the potential fraud from his state, but slammed the targeting of one community.
My message is simple on this. You commit fraud in Minnesota, you're going to prison. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. Sitting on the sidelines and throwing out accusations, and let's be very clear, demonizing an entire population and lying to people about the safety and security of this state is beneath that.
Republicans have increasingly blamed Walz for the fraud scandal.
Tim Walz refuses to take accountability for the fraud he created and enabled. President Trump is committed to justice for the crimes against the taxpayers of Minnesota.
Critics say
So I agree that Trump is committed to law enforcement. But this is not a Democrat problem. They enable it in their states and their cities, but billions of dollars is not just Democrat. You can't say, oh, they're the only ones who knew about this, therefore it's on them. No. Billions of dollars, at some point it should have been reported because this is federal now. You can't just blame one side for this. It takes two sides to allow this kind of corruption, and it's way more than $1 billion that you guys are about to see.
The ICE crackdown on the Somali community is a waste of time and money because the overwhelming majority of Somalis living in Minnesota are naturalized U.S. citizens, according to census data.
Is the biggest funder of al-Shabaab, the al-Qaeda-linked terror group in Somalia, actually the Minnesota taxpayer? A federal investigator says yes. An alarming claim first reported by City Journal, which spoke with multiple former federal agents. The U.S. Attorney's Office has charged dozens of defendants across multiple schemes, including housing aid fraud, pandemic child nutrition fraud, and false billing for autism therapy. In total, prosecutors say these schemes have cost Minnesota taxpayers billions of dollars.
Still, there are people that have legitimately could use those resources that are not getting those resources. It's past criminal.
Minnesota is home to one of the country's largest Somali communities. Former state fraud investigator Kesh Magan, himself a Somali American, wrote last year that it's uncomfortable and true that nearly all defendants in these major fraud cases come from that community.
They have taken advantage of the most generous country in the world and one of the most generous states in that country.
And according to City Journal, some of the stolen money was sent overseas through informal cash transfer networks. Investigators say once that cash arrived in Somalia, al-Shabaab took a cut, whether the sender intended that or not.
Pretty much across the board, people that I spoke to said there really isn't a law enforcement solution to this problem. As you said, that's simply playing whack-a-mole. People pretty consistently told me that, there needs to be a policy change here.
Critics claim Minnesota leaders have tiptoed around the issue, fearing a backlash from the state's powerful Somali American voting bloc.
These Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars.
The president appearing to refer to recent investigations showing widespread fraud in Minnesota. The majority of those charged members of the Somali community, including the case of Feeding Our Future, a false charity said to be providing meals given $250 million under the federal child nutrition program.
Hundreds of millions of dollars were diverted, again, by several dozen Somali nationals who took the money they were supposed to be using to feed children and, in fact, were pocketing for criminal instances.
There are more examples, not only of fraud perpetrated by those in the Somali community, most of whom are U.S. citizens, but of a concerted effort by government officials to cover it up.
The corruption went on and on and on for years because there was this climate of fear of wanting to raise these issues. They're concerned about, maybe being called racist or bigoted.
See a huge focus on
Listen to this.
Negativity to the Somali community and connecting them to the Feeding Our Future scandal. But what we have to remember is, number one, that was a very, very, very small group of individuals involved in that fraud. They're being held accountable under the law. Many, if not all of them, will face time in prison. But the face of that scandal was actually a white woman named Amy Bach. So I'm going to say the quiet part out loud today. That particular person is who gave access for the scandal to happen in the first place. And yet the focus is on Somali individuals. If it weren't for a white woman opening the door, none of it would have even happened in the first place. So let's be honest here. But we don't hear Donald Trump and ICE and their minions calling out white people who engage in fraud or crime or abuse. And I'm from a community that has unfortunately been impacted as a result of white people's crimes against black people that have gone.
The housing bubble, Enron, even Martha Stewart, that narrative that white people don't get sued, or not sued, but convicted of fraud is silly. They're the ones who do it the most. So just because we now have a group of black people who are under the microscope, you can't use that. Because we're not the ones who, BLM, but outside of that, we're not the ones who do this on a regular basis. Somebody may have helped them, sure. And she needs to be arrested too, but come on. White people don't get accused of fraud. That's their thing. That's their thing. Yep. This is what it's all about. If they can't profit from it, they don't help. But for us, they can profit off of our stuff. Everything. So her doing this, everybody knows that white people get convicted of fraud all the time. Banking fraud, accounting fraud. Come on. This is the absurd point. And it's, again, she's still working on that race angle that it doesn't work for us anymore, lady. Give it up. They don't accept it from us. We really overplayed that. Become Jewish and call them anti-Semite, you have a chance. Become part of that community and say that they're homophobes. Okay, you got a much better chance than using the black card. Nah. We can't use it anymore. Not even if it's blatantly obvious we can't use it anymore. They stole that from them.
Unrecognized, that have never been addressed, and where we continue to be mistreated and stereotyped, even though our community for decades upon decades have been the ones who have suffered as a result of white privilege, white power, and white supremacy.
I can agree with some of that, but then why are you using it in this case when we're doing something wrong? People like you hurt our ability to do that and appeal to those real situations, because people like you who will use it for anything. And everybody can't be Hitler. We found this out when Trump got shot at. Everybody can't be Hitler. You have people committing violence against people like that or whatever, but everyone else is like, okay, I don't need to hear that anymore. They don't believe it anymore. It's the boy who cried wolf on a large scale. This guy, oh Jesus, this guy.
He's wrong, and we want them here. Somali people have been an extraordinary benefit. I'll say it again. Somali people have been a benefit to our city for longer than I have been in our city. They have started businesses and created jobs. They have added to the cultural fabric of what Minneapolis is. They were welcoming to me when I first came out to Minneapolis. In fact, they were one of the first groups that I myself got to know.
This is what the left does. So we're not talking about Somali people. We're talking about a group within the Somali community. But this is it's the worst kind of gaslighting, because they're telling you that you don't see what you're seeing. And then they make a complete argument for good people. We're not talking about the good people. Otherwise, we would be talking about the good people. We're talking about the people who stole over $1 billion, tens of billions of dollars in your state. So why are you talking about the good ones? That's not who we're talking about.
to again, villainize an entire group is ridiculous under any circumstances.
See?
And the way that Donald Trump is consistently doing it, I think calls into question major constitutional violations. And it certainly violates the moral fabric of what we stand by in this country as Americans.
Looking into the rampant state fraud in Minnesota that's already led to dozens of indictments, the U.S. House Oversight Committee and the Treasury Department both launched investigations into the massive fraud scheme lawmakers say used taxpayer dollars to fund terror groups overseas. Oversight Committee Chair James Comer said Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was warned about massive fraud in a pandemic food aid program for children, yet he failed to act. Instead, whistleblowers who raised concerns faced retaliation. Because of Governor Walz's negligence, criminals, including Somali terrorists, stole nearly $1 billion from the program while children suffered. And one of the journalists who uncovered the scandal says the massive operation was extensive and expanded over many years.
It's not just a single billion, but sources in Minnesota tell me it's multiple billions of dollars that have been stolen by Somali migrants, predominantly in Minneapolis. They were doing things like faking autism diagnoses, faking autism treatment plans, opening up fraudulent autism centers, and then bilking hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers. This is the biggest systematic fraud scandal, and it's not just a few isolated individuals. I think we're looking at hundreds of Somali families and really widespread recognition within the Somali community.
Department of Homeland Security.
So he says not just a billion, it's billions with an S. So as this goes on, you guys are going to see the number keeps going up. There's a reason for that, because they keep finding more stuff. Hey, I tried to warn you, beautiful one. I said it was a trigger warning. Listen to this. We're not even at the part that's infuriating yet.
Linking multiple Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota to an illegal Somali national arrested as part of the immigration crackdown there. Abdul Dahir Ibrahim entered the U.S. in 1995 after being deported from Canada, where he was charged with welfare and asylum fraud. He had been living in Minnesota despite an order by an immigration judge for his removal back in 2004 because of his extensive history of fraud charges. He was finally arrested by ICE agents last week. DHS did post these pictures online of Ibrahim with multiple Democrats they say have allowed him to keep living in the U.S. under sanctuary policies, including failed Minneapolis mayoral candidate Omar Fattah, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and Governor Tim Walz. At the same time, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is threatening to cut off funding to Minnesota over concerns of fraud in the state.
It's true. A Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen?
Over $1 billion.
Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz administration. Governor Walz and the state's other...
That's why I said earlier, you weren't in here yet. I said this is a distraction. Now, it's not a distraction in a sense that they don't really believe whatever they believe when they're protesting somebody getting shot. It's a distraction from this. This is massive fraud on a massive scale in one state. You're going to hear later that this is happening in other states too. This is just the one that we're concentrating on right now. This is crazy, crazy. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Democrats rely on Somali votes to get elected, so they decided to look the other way because they were afraid of quote-unquote political backlash. Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence.
Governor Walz is also under investigation by the House Oversight Committee. Last week, Chair James Comer gave him a December 17th deadline to provide documents and records related to the investigation.
Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent.
Did you see that number? We were just at what, billion to billions? Now we're talking 18 billion. This is why I said the number's going to keep going up is the more they look. This is why Doge was so important. They just pointed out, hey, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. Unfortunately, we have a attorney general who's not prosecuting anything. And it's frustrating because I'm like, lady, Elon Musk gave you tons and tons and tons of corruption all over the system, and nobody's getting prosecuted. That's why. Oh, hey, listen. You're about to, if you think this is bad just from hearing what they said about the kids, wait till you see what they're doing. It's even worse. We're not at the infuriating part yet. What's going on, Catcher?
Billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes.
Did you hear about the GDP? They're stealing more here and making more for the country of Somalia than their own GDP, their own gross domestic product. They don't even produce as much money in Somalia as they're stealing from Minnesota. Now they put 9 there. I don't know why they put 9, but even if it's not as much, it shouldn't be close. They're stealing more from this country than their country makes from their own productivity.
This money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enrich themselves all at the U.S. taxpayers' expense. And in this video, we will break down all of the fraud from start to
This
finish,
is
going
crazy.
through the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
Be prepared.
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. And then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali owned.
So it's beyond crazy. So just so you guys know, when I do lives like this, I link everything in my description. So you can go find this video because it's a lot longer than what I put up here. And it's not just this. All of the videos that I show, if it's a source from like CBS News, I put them all in my description. So you can go back and look at this video because this is insane. Be prepared to be mad. I'm telling you right now. What's up, Vibe, in my name?
Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here, we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
With all this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation, and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting...
So now this fraud is federal. So this is us paying for all this. This is not just, Minnesota welfare system, they're draining that system, that's fine. This fraud here is coming from us. Everybody in this chat, if you're not from Minneapolis or Minnesota, they're taking from us because these are federal grants that they're getting.
The money, and where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have childcare, and then you have healthcare. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation. A lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And
so childcare, adult, elderly healthcare, transportation, and what was the other one he said? Healthcare. Yeah, so it's adult care, like home health care, where they come in and help with the elderly or whatever. And then there's actual health care, and then there's transportation. And it's the same people, double, triple, quadruple dipping, getting millions of dollars from the federal government. It's the same people. And veterans are out here homeless or not able to get treatment or waiting in line as if we're Venezuela.
The government knows about this.
The government knows they're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. Yep. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe. And they're afraid of their own shadow. And I don't understand. This is our future generations are going to have to pay for all this fraud. And they just want to bury their heads in the sand and go on and just not worry about it. Tim Wall's saying there's organized crime in Minnesota. What did he do about it? Nothing. You got organized crime? What are you doing? This is the Minnesota law, which mandates that anyone who knows of fraud and as a state employee, must report that fraud. It's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9. Not only that, but Walz is also guilty of misconduct of a public employee. When I look at the world as a whole, and I look at fraud, the Twin Cities is ground zero. The fraud is worse here than anywhere else ever in history. We're going to a place called Mako Child Care, which actually has another child care
about to get
registered at the same address
infuriating.
called Mini Child Care Center.
So we should see lots of children if there's this child care center, especially if there's two.
The two of them combined are licensed for 120.
And how much money have these child care centers received?
None of those vans had moved in 6 months. None of them. In 2020, one of them received $1.3 million. In 2021, they got $987,000. In 2022, they got $714,000. That's the last I have for that one. And then the other one, $1.604 million in fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2024, they got about $800,000, and in fiscal year 2023, they got $904,059.
So every year, they're increasing how much the federal government is giving these people, and they're not doing anything, and they're double dipping. So it's in transportation, in health, in child care, and in adult health, in adult care, and in healthcare. It's the same companies, same names, getting federal grants and state. They're robbing them blind too. But I'm more concerned with the federal grant. I think if a state fails, they should be on their own. We shouldn't even bail them out, especially if it's something like this. But now they're taking from me. I have a big problem with this. That one, I'm pointing, $5.2 million. Just this one place here.
This place right here. Yes.
We're outside of it.
Well, this is actually two daycares are registered here. One of them is Mako, which you see on the sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in. And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Try to get in, ring the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. It says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here right here has generated millions of dollars, and it seems like business isn't even open right now, and it's a weekday. And if this was a daycare center,
So, and here's the thing. So I saw some people trying to defend this nonsense by saying, well, they're not going to just let anybody in because it's a daycare. Okay, that's a fair point, but that's not what we're watching here. And you're going to see, it's going to be very clear that there's no kids anywhere. It's not that they're not letting them in to protect children. There are no kids.
it just be in some industrialized building. There'd be maybe like a playground or something outside. Or
there's no play area for the kids. So where are the kids? Where's anybody? How can there be nobody here? And it's like this every single day. I've never seen a single child here. In 9 years, I've never seen a single child at this building. Right there.
9 years.
Now it looks like we already got the Somalis coming
Yeah,
through.
they're coming. The word's out.
Hello, is this your daycare?
No. Can you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here. This next one is literally 1 block away, and this one's also generated nearly $3 million in the past 3 years. Let's see if there's any children. Let's see if any of the buildings are open. Here we go. All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. Let's see if anybody is here. This door is locked.
This facility is licensed for 40 children. 0 children. I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever. The only thing I've ever seen is someone standing outside smoking.
What's crazy about this is that last daycare center is that green building right there. And the other daycare center right now is right here. These buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars. I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door. Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare. Can I speak to a manager?
Why?
Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I want to put my son Joey in daycare. And after a few questions, the lady went silent. Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Child Care.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which says it's licensed for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I tried to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door. I want to put
So they're at 9 million just from these 5 places that they've been to? 9 million, and this is just childcare.
my son Joey in daycare. Cause I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Why? Why?
Is this your daycare center?
No. What's up?
Well, I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's up?
Why?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked there?
Kids there. What's
How
up?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked there. Okay, well, then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in the daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
I'm gonna do my son. No! You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your petty.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
You said you're scared of me because of my color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You said you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now, they're all getting mad because he's showing the paperwork of this business, being registered as a business. 74 children. No children. We saw one child when the lady opened up the door. But now they're all getting mad.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking to the owner if you're telling me to talk to the owner?
I'm sorry. I'm not understanding what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
No.
Does anybody?
No.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing? It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
I think we're moving on to the next location. So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up.
said they spelled learning wrong.
Don't open up.
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm
All
literally a
right,
YouTuber.
so
Don't open up.
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud?
all right, so this is the type of woman who got unalived at the beginning of this video, right here. Don't open up. Don't open up. Why is she there? She's trying to protect illegal activity, even though it's costing her money. Just some random white liberal lady who's she has a savior complex. And this is just what she does. She's literally standing outside a learning center that can't spell learning, yelling, don't open up. Don't listen. Please keep the doors locked. This lady's insane. And there are hordes of these women. And one of them, unfortunately, got unalived. That real hard. I'm not going to say that.
That's taking place here in Minnesota.
Don't open up. We have ice.
And what do you think about this
Listen
place
to
being
her.
licensed for 99 children
Don't open up.
and getting $4 million over
Don't
the
open up. It's ice.
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away.
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away.
Are you in favor of that?
Go away.
Oh.
You're not welcome here.
Are you,
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9 million going illegally,
Don't open up.
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up.
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are. You don't belong here.
I belong here just like you belong here.
Then why are you
Don't
yelling
open up.
ice?
It's ice.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children here at this building, but there's no one here. This is a child daycare center.
99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding. Do you know where the children are? Where they
That's
kidnapped,
ice.
run away? Where are the children? This is
Don't open up.
Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah. So who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research investigating the fraud that's taking place here in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
I'm with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's calling us ICE. This building received over $3 million. Hello, how are you? I would like to see if I can
That
bring little
looks like
Joey,
an
my son, little
actual-
Joey here. Is there paperwork? Can I check out the daycare? No. Why can't I check out the daycare?
At least they pretended they did some kitty colors, some painting on the walls. So that one may actually be a legitimate one. But even her behavior doesn't make sense, and she may not know what he's saying. So I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, even though she's probably full of it.
Okay, but if I can't get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things. No, I would like your business card, actually.
You talk to your manager.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No.
No children?
Yeah.
Why are
No
there no children?
We have two athletes coming.
Would my son, little Joey, have friends to play with here? No. No friends for little Joey.
Yes. Sorry.
Ah, dang it. Well, have a great rest of your day. So, little Joey would not be accepted to that daycare. Joey's still looking for daycare. And because little Joey couldn't get into a daycare, we went to an autism center, as they have been popping up
Autism
everywhere. The
center.
rise of autism has occurred here in Minnesota because of the government funds that they're receiving. I tried to check my son Joey into an autism center. We've been going to a lot of these daycare centers. We're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but we thought maybe we could check him in the autism center because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center?
I can't give you a number now.
Like more than 5?
Probably.
Probably, so you don't really know?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the
Maybe
fraud that's
for-
been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
I can't answer
What
that.
news? Are you a news reporter?
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here because there's
So why are you asking us about
the fraud. Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
He's artsy.
But that's our number on your but this is we can't let you guys use it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The sign says Creative Minds Daycare. They got in so much trouble, they had so many violations that they had to shut down, and they reopened the next day under Super Kids Daycare Center. You see, 3801 Portland, 3801 Portland, which is where we are.
So that's fraud right there alone.
Millions and millions of dollars, and again, the kids are missing. Where are the kids?
You'd think if they had the same address, that whoever's inside or working at the Capitol here inside of Minnesota would say, oh, maybe that's a red flag.
They just write the check. Human Services, they got to clean out the whole bunch. They're the ones who enabled this fraud. How can you not look and say, Wait a minute, these two are registered at the same address.
Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here.
The very next day, they reopen it with a different name and continue to get the funds. Little Joy is never getting in anything. He's definitely not getting in daycare or the autistic center. Poor Joey's just gonna have to stay home.
We want healthcare. Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here. No. Why can't I get healthcare here?
So this whole building, sorry, because I talked over. This whole building is all healthcare businesses. Homeschool for sure.
At the same address.
Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. We want healthcare. Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here. No. Why can't I get healthcare here?
No.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing. Security armed. This is the strangest.
Armed
place I've ever been
security.
to get healthcare.
Armed security for healthcare.
Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here.
It's
Another
crazy.
healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year.
This is like those what are they have like a lot of hair places. What are those called? Oh crap. My wife goes to one where it's like one building and it's all suites of like barbers and salons and stuff like that. That's what this is, but it's for healthcare. But nobody's there. And nobody's going to give you any rates or anything. And in fact, they have armed security. They've got this salon suites. Yeah, they've got this scam down to a T. They literally just throw one family member in each building, and their kids are there, and they're just hanging out watching TV. Can I get some healthcare rates? No. Well, can I check in, little Joey? Why? Like, because you're at daycare. This is infuriating. I'm laughing to avoid being really mad because it's so absurd that they're getting away with this to the tune of billions. And this is healthcare now. We're not even just daycare, adult care, healthcare, and transportation. They're doing this in 4 different areas. Billions and billions and billions.
I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers, and they actually took down information to give us.
There's
a
an
rate.
actual
However,
daycare.
when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that gentleman mentioned your description. We're in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building. So.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
So we're-
he's here with some kind of like propaganda.
No, we're just checking.
No, this is a.
Again, another white liberal savior articulating it for people. That's not what he said. What is she even doing there? Was she their handler? Is she getting a cut for this? She called the police on him.
Area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. I'm gonna have. If you guys
No,
want
you're
this,
not.
we're gonna
No,
step
you're
outside and we can have a-
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this address.
Yeah.
So
As we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building. Right here,
22.
you have multicultural home care. And right here it says it's open, but can't even get in. Another Reliance Recovery Center. Mercy and Grace Care, Inc. Right here you have Den Eritrean Youth Development Association of Minnesota. Another child care center. Welcome to Bright Beginning Center. But what do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Sorry. No comments. Can I please?
Right here, you have Serenity Quality Care. All of these businesses are literally the same type of business, providing the same service in the same building. Another Convenience Home Healthcare, Aid, Inc., and Child-Friendly Space. All these companies get money from the government. Why would you have the same company, essentially, inside of the same building, door to door? Right here, Queenly Home Healthcare. It just does not make sense. If you were trying to operate a business, you'd want to have less competition. But here, they have all their competition right next door. We're wondering, because we hear there's lots of fraud taking place.
And the reason why this works with the salon suites is because people have their clientele, right? So it works out for everybody involved. This is all the exact same product. They don't understand capitalism at all. This is not competition. So these people have the exact same product and they're doing it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How like one of you guys is going to have to take all the clients. Somebody's got cheaper rates, but they won't even show you the rates because there's nobody in there. And what Mel said something earlier, I would not be surprised if people aren't living there. There's full living situations back there. Bedroom, kitchen, everything back there. Because they don't have to leave and they're getting paid to do this.
In Minnesota, and we're wondering why is there so many of the same companies inside of the same building?
No, I don't know that.
What do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't have any idea.
You don't know.
Okay. That's it.
What do you think about the news articles and what's being spread on the news about the fraud?
Right now, you are doing something wrong.
I'm just asking you.
No, you
about
don't
the
have
fraud.
to ask me. Okay. Don't ask me that question again.
Okay. Who can I speak to? Who can I speak to? Okay.
So you set up a business and you don't know that there's 21 other of the exact same business in there? When I was in retail, in our contract, they're not allowed to have competition directly in the same center if it's in like a strip mall or whatever. There could be across the street, they could be even off to the side, but they cannot be in the same strip. They're all in the same building, not even the same strip. They're in the same building, direct competition. You know how low the rent would have to be if I'm going to allow somebody to have direct competition in my business space? Like, this doesn't make sense. You'll always see Burger King across the street from McDonald's. You'll always see whatever. That happens. We see that all the time, but not in the same strip. They can't do. They're not supposed to do this. Well, no sane rental agreement or leasing agreement is going to have that. Direct competition you're taking from me and my ability to pay the lease.
Federal prosecutors said earlier this month they're investigating some $9 billion worth of fraud in more than a dozen Medicaid-funded programs in Minnesota. That is much broader, much larger than anything they've announced previously. So explain what's new here.
What's new here is that a fraud problem that started with a COVID era really relief program to help kids get meals when the schools were all shut down has just spiraled into this sort of giant monster that just keeps spreading from one program to another. It seems like there's a playbook that's been passed around out there, and dozens, if not hundreds, of criminals are figuring out how to rip off the state for it's certainly hundreds of millions of dollars. I think at the $9 billion, my God, that's a huge lift. I guess it's possible, but there's been a little bit of skepticism about that number.
And here's what his office told us in part, quote, fraud is unacceptable and it is appropriate that the federal government is investigating problems in federal programs. The governor has been combating this for years, and before the viral video, the state had already referred these cases to law enforcement. What has the state and federal response been even before the latest allegations?
Very robust at the federal level. Somewhat tepid at the state level. And so I think there's legitimate questions that have been raised about whether the state did what it needed to do at the beginning to shut this thing down. Now, there certainly has been a lot of action at the state level recently to try to crack down, create new guardrails, to create new processes that would catch fraud and prevent these kind of things from happening again. But a lot of critics are saying this is a little bit too little too late.
Breaking news right.
You know, now that I look at the drawing that I'm doing on my Tuesdays and Thursday lives, my father could pass for Somali. I'm going to look into this. I think I got some Somali in me too. I might be Somali. I'm going to start telling everybody I'm part Somali.
Now, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announcing he is dropping out of the 2026 governor's race. He told reporters he believes he would have won another term, but decided, quote, that he can't give a political campaign his all after what he described as an extraordinarily difficult year for the state.
You said this week that Minnesota...
No, you guys are laughing. No, seriously, look. You could pass for Somali. I think I'm part Somali. I think it's in the nose. See how wide? Well, no, they don't have white. They have thin noses. I insist. I need to look this up. I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna get me one of them 23. What is it? 23 and me, or I don't know.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was, quote, at the top of the suspect list. Can you elaborate?
Well, we have to disclose annually our financial statements, and I think it's public knowledge what the salary is for Congress, and it's been the same. I've been here 9 years. It's been the exact same, $174,000.
This is Ilhan Omar, what he's talking about. Listen to these numbers. Yes, ma'am. Every Tuesday and Thursday I draw.
For 9 years. Omar's been here maybe 5 or 7 years. I don't recall how many years she's been here. But when she came here, she had a negative net worth. Now she's showing a net worth of somewhere between $6 and $30 million. And the reason it's such a big range is that's how the financial disclosure forms are. I've been a critic of that. There's a huge range, like between 1 and 5 million and between 6 and 25 million. But regardless, her net worth just out of nowhere skyrocketed. We know it's tied to a venture capital or private equity, some type of investment. Did
you hear that? Negative net worth.
But when she came here, she had a negative net worth. Now she's showing a net worth of somewhere between $6 and $30 million. And the reason it's such a big range is that's how the financial disclosure forms are. I've been a critic of that. There's a huge range, like between 1 and 5 million and between 6 and 25 million. But regardless, her net worth just out of nowhere skyrocketed. We know it's tied to
Holy
capital
crap.
or private equity, some type of investment, two investment funds that her husband's running. We have a lot of questions about where the money came from.
At some point, I don't even know what to say, beautiful one. Other than I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Genuine.
How do you make that much in fees in a short period of time? So there are a lot of common sense questions about how her net worth skyrocketed so much.
Is the Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, is this a case that could be referred to the Ethics Committee?
Absolutely. The Ethics Committee's sole purpose in life is to investigate members of
Will
Congress.
you refer her case to the Ethics Committee?
Absolutely. And I think that there are going to be a lot of members that will encourage the Ethics Committee to take this up, because it's just a simple question. It shouldn't take very long. One little session with the Ethics Committee, with basic questions, how did he amass this much money? And then if they're not satisfied with the answer, then they can certainly get those financial records.
And just to be clear, the numbers that you're quoting, are those from congressional disclosure forms?
Yes, they're her financial disclosure form. It's public record.
Okay. Your team is investigating Minnesota, a blue state. Will you also hold red states accountable?
Absolutely. I'm serious about Medicaid fraud. I am sick and tired of Congress operating in these massive deficits. And anytime you try to do anything to rein in spending or tweak the system to prevent fraud, the Democrats go crazy. Their liberal friends in the media go crazy and attack us and show kids on TV that have feeding tubes and they're going to lose their feeding tubes. That's not the case. What we're trying to do as Republicans in Congress is be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. It appears that this was prevalent in other states from the Somali community. This is one particular Medicaid fraud. Now, there are Medicaid frauds, in my opinion, in all 50 states. But this Minnesota investigation, I'm pretty confident, is going to be branching out in other states, because we're getting initial reports that states like Ohio, states like Illinois, California, and even Maine have similar Somali schemes taking place with all the welfare programs.
You hear
According
that?
to the Oversight Committee's X account in 2025.
So it's several states. So once they go into these other states, they're going to start seeing, I don't know if it's going to be this big, because Walz is a complete moron and has not looked into the stuff. He says he is, but it doesn't make sense that you're $9 billion in the hole just from one form of fraud, from one group. But he just named Ohio and Maine and whatever other states he named. And it's the same group that's only focusing on Somali. So there's other groups that are doing it. But just within this one group, you have all of this fraud.
There were 54 hearings, 38 bills, over 200 letters, 26 transcribed interviews, and 9 depositions to expose waste, fraud, and abuse. In 2025, as a result of the Oversight Committee's investigations, was anyone arrested, prosecuted, or convicted?
We had a lot of resignations. We had resignations of people from the D.C. police chief to the head of Secret Service to many different bureaucrats and agency heads. But at the end of the day, I've been disappointed in some of the criminal referrals that are collecting dust on Attorney General Bondi's desk. I've made that very clear with the White House. I'm hopeful that we'll see some action soon on the criminal referrals that range everywhere from Dr. Fauci to the Biden family influence peddling scheme. So
And this is my issue with the Trump administration right now. It's not that he's not doing stuff. I don't like the wars. I don't like anything that has to do with war. I don't like. But nobody's getting held accountable, and everybody knows that I've been promoting Trump. I've been talking about the good that he's done. But I also been telling you guys for a long time, if he does something that I don't like, I'm going to say something. And people didn't believe me. I know a lot of people, oh, no, you're a Trump supporter, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, he supports me. So that means he has to do what I say. So Fauci should be in prison already, at least be up on charges. Comey got away with what he was doing. Letitia James has got away with what she's doing. There's been no accountability with the swamp. The Epstein files is the biggest example of the most disgusting injustice. And this is on the president. Did I vote for him? Absolutely. Did I advocate for him? Absolutely. That doesn't mean I'm not going to say this is wrong, because the Epstein file is the biggest example of swamp getting away with stuff. You have clearly, there are high level officials, and maybe from around the world that are intermingled with this Epstein stuff, right? Why has there been not one? Oh, there's been one prosecution. The only one is a woman. And I have no problem with it. Listen, it's not because she's a woman that I have anything, but my issue is it's a woman who did not buy kids and do these things. She collected them. For who? I'm not saying she should get away with it, but so this is a beautiful one saying these things. I'm not going to say whether I agree or not. No, yes, I am. I don't know about this one here, but the Clintons for sure. And I'm pretty sure about the other one. But hey, he's a billionaire. I ain't trying to get a cease and desist on my channel. But the Clintons clearly, I mean, we already know what Hillary did. She took public information and destroyed it to hide it from us. So we know that. We have pictures of Clinton in Epstein's homes with girls. We saw he has a portrait of Bill Clinton in a dress for some reason on his walls, and Bill Clinton kept going. So no, if I go into Henry's house and he's got a picture of me zesty, I'm never going back there again, and we're probably we're gonna fight, right? Bill Clinton was still going to this guy's home who has Bill Clinton up on his wall in a dress. That's not normal behavior. But we have there's world leaders who are clearly in there because they've seen them with this guy. One of them is Israel. I don't know if it was Netanyahu specifically. All right, so I'm not going to speak on the specific name of the former president or whatever they call him, prime minister. But we know that there are people on this list. We know that there was royalty from British royalty on this list. So my president decided, I'm not going to do this. You guys still talk about that guy? Yeah, we're not going to stop. So unfortunately, I have to say something because that's the biggest thing he ran on was draining the swamp, releasing JFK, MLK files, and Epstein files. None of them have been done. Now, he's done phenomenal on the border, phenomenal on his peace deals throughout the world. But he's also started a war, and he went in and stole a president from another country. So I'm not for that. No matter who the guy is, we don't have the right to do that. This is America. He literally went to the guy's house, stole him and his wife. Now, do I care about the guy himself? No, I care about what we did. I don't care about Maduro. He's clearly a dictator. He's clearly a bad guy. But we don't have the right to just go up in the guy's house and steal him and his wife. It's so absurd that we did that. And what I don't understand is the people defending it. Like, again, I don't care because of who the guy is, but that doesn't mean that we should be doing that. You can't do that. And the reason we can't do that is, I said this before, most of the world hates Trump. That doesn't mean that they have the right to come into this country and take him back for their justice. Can't do that. So while I find it hilarious and phenomenal, I don't agree with it at all. And I only if it were any other person, I'd really be against it. But it's Maduro. But we did the same thing to Saddam Hussein, and he got a brutal death. We can't go into sovereign nations, no matter what their politics are, no matter what. No one can convince me that that's okay, because I look at it the same way I look at Republican and Democrat issues where, hey, Democrats, you better be careful because this is going to flip on you. And the same thing to Republicans, you better be careful. This is going to flip on you. I say the same thing about our country in general and our foreign policy. You better be careful, because if this flips on us and we have the whole world come to this country and demand, stand at our front door and demand, Gaddafi, Noriega, like having the whole country, or we'll just use the house, having a whole neighborhood come to your house and demand somebody out of your house. Can't do that. Having them come in and just doing it like we did, you can't do that. You can't. So the reason why I laugh is because he dared Trump to do it and called Trump a coward. And then like a day or two later, Trump literally came and got him. Wild stuff. But I'm against it. And I'm against, we try to do the same thing in Syria too. But I'm against that kind of stuff. And I think Trump has to, 2026, there has to be a lot of convictions and trials, because if there's not, he's going to hurt himself really, 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 really badly. And I don't want to see that, because I've been rooting for this guy for 10 years, 2015. So over 10 years now. And for him to ruin it all, in my opinion, because he's not going after corruption, I don't like it. It sucks.
You got that. But now with respect to Minnesota, I'm very confident the Department of Justice is going to make several more requests. They've already made several arrests, dozens of arrests down there, and they're working on dozens of prosecutions. But that's the tip of the iceberg, and the Department of Justice knows it. Homeland Security obviously is down there. You've got the Department of Ag looking at some of these food programs. So I think everyone in the Trump administration, HUD, all the different agencies are serious about apprehending these fraudsters.
So you're confident there will be arrests and criminal charges brought in Minnesota in 2026?
Absolutely.
Back to the Justice Department. Has the Justice Department done enough?
Well, I would like to see more. I'm an optimistic person. I believe that they're working very hard, and I know the president has a lot of confidence in Pam Bondi. So hopefully they will be more successful in prosecuting some of these people that we've provided congressional evidence that have broken the law.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of the comments on X. This is a very popular chart on X. It says 0 arrests for some scandals that are very important to Republicans. Is that what accountability looks like?
Listen, that's the biggest complaint of every Republican on the House Oversight Committee is there haven't been enough arrests. Now, some of these
facts,
some of those issues, I don't know, it's going to be hard to arrest people. With the Biden auto pen scandal, what we produced in our investigation is evidence that the pardons and executive orders that were signed with the auto pen in the last year of the Biden administration should be declared null and void. Now, President Trump tweeted after we issued our report that he was going to declare them null and void, but I don't believe the paperwork's ever been done, and you're still going to have to go to court for that. But our congressional investigation will serve as basis to uphold the declaration of those pardons and executive orders being declared null and void. Someone from the Department of Justice just has to take it to court.
Okay, so someone from the Justice Department has not picked up the ball yet.
It appears that way.
Okay, well, that must be frustrating.
It's very frustrating.
Very, 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 very frustrating. And this is what she was holding up. Remove from studio. This is what she was holding up. Russia collusion hoax, 0. January 6th, 0. Mar-a-Lago raid, 0. Autopen, 2020 election. Epstein, COVID, Benghazi, Doge findings, Ukraine. Like, at some point, you have to do what you say you're going to do. And if you don't, you cannot. Yeah, all of them. Yeah, all of them. All of them. You cannot have criminals walking around and expect to have confidence from American citizens when you said you're going to take care of this stuff for us. That's why we put you there. But that list is insane. Like, no arrests, really? That, especially the January 6th committee, because we now know they openly lied about several things. They left out testimonies. They refused to interview one of the I want to say supervisors of Capitol Police, and then condemned him because he put on a Trump hat. But he only put on a Trump hat to get away. That was not an investigation. That was a sham on the American people. And they were all public officials who have sworn an oath to protect the Constitution and protect this country. And they didn't. It was clearly all lies. So if you haven't seen that, I've seen that everywhere online. And I'm like, the Doge findings, you guys, all the corruption. I did a live on Doge, two lives on Doge, showing how much money was being just sent everywhere, all over. No convictions, no prosecutions even. Like, what are we doing here? COVID, one of the biggest crimes against humanity ever. The whole world shut down. A whole generation of kids who were in school were damaged. They were stuck at home for years. Suicide rates went up. Divorces happened because of a choice to lock down based on lies. No arrests, really? This is not good. So again, I love what's going on with immigration, but we gotta do better. 2026, I'm expecting a lot. If we do not see any more movement or any movement, period, on any of those issues, Trump's going to have a rough time those last 2 years. And I'm going to be one of the ones speaking out against them because this is not what we voted for. And it's not even what he ran for. So that's all I got. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for stopping by. Henry, Miss Beautiful One, obviously, as always. Thank you so much, so much. Catcher Meta Jagger. That's how you're supposed to say her name if you guys don't know. Thank you so much. Amber C, the bad guy. Thank you so much. That's not a real comment from Twitch, so I'm not even going to say that one. I appreciate all of you guys. Lou, thank you, sir. Thanks for stopping by. I saw Mel Dub was in here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. You got to go back and watch the beginning, dude, because he came in after I started with going over the actual like criminal organizations. Who else was in here? Uncle L, as always, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Always, always, always support. Vibe in my lane, thank you, thank you. And I believe, I hope I didn't forget anybody. I always feel, oh, Miss Phoenix. Phoenix Rising, my mom. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amber. Appreciate you. With that said, that's all I got. I'm going right back to the Candace Owens stuff because that is the story. And I'm going to explain why it's the story in that live, but it doesn't get much more important than that. Even over this stuff, gee, Will, obviously, thank you. But even this story is not as big as the Candace Owens story. And we're just waiting to see what happens with that. But I'm definitely going right back to that because that's should not be happening in America. What's happening should not be happening in this country. And it's really, really bad. So that said, what did I come in here with? I think it came in with number 1. Appreciate you all. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Oh, Tuesday, tomorrow, every Tuesday, every Thursday, I'm drawing. I don't know if I could do tomorrow. So right now, I got a heating pad, so I'm good. I'm good. And I'm sitting back. So even when I'm doing this, I'm sitting against the heating pad. I had to leave early on Thursday because my back was killing me. Apparently, I got a sciatic pinch, and it's been really, really bad for like a week. So I was not able to, I couldn't take it the other day. But that's because I have to lean forward to draw. And even right now, I just felt it. So when I'm sitting back like this, I'm good. I can go live and I can talk. I can do this for hours. But when I'm drawing, I have to lean kind of forward. So hopefully I'll be here tomorrow. I don't know how long. If I am, it probably won't be the full 2 hours. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm drawing. Right now, I'm doing my father, drawing my father. And then after that, I'm just going to keep going with the drawings. And eventually, I still can't figure out why StreamYard won't let me bring the, it ain't old, man. I got a pinch nerve. I'm old too. You can see this? Of course. But the Thursday live, I should still be able to do tomorrow. Hopefully it's really, no, the stretching is not working for this. The doctor told me to just rest because it's a sciatic pinch. It's not tight muscles or anything like that. I used to have issues with tight muscles. This is different. This is crazy. It's traveled down my left leg, then now it's traveling down my right leg. Now it's down by my right knee. This is wild. It's wild. Oh, artist. Nice. Yeah. Tomorrow, every Tuesday and Thursday night. Tuesday and Thursday night. Tomorrow, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but it's usually 2 hours. So yeah. Sub up to the new art channel. Because eventually, if I can figure this thing out, I'm supposed to be going live over there, not over here. So this is the art channel. But that's where I'm going to be going. But yeah, this sciatic thing is, because I normally would just roll. I tried rolling on a foam roller. This is not what I was used to from back in the day. This is not. So once I get this thing figured out, I'm only going to be going live from that channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the drawing. I'll be going live on Twitch just for the drawing. And then I'll be going live on TikTok just for the drawing. But TikTok, you got to wait 30 days. Apparently, I should have been. I was protesting TikTok, the Chinamans. No, I can't even get a massage. They said I can't even get a massage. This is just a pinched sciatic nerve. He's like, rest. Because even I was telling him, I felt good. I went to ride a bike last week, and he was like, yeah, don't. Just you have to just rest and then take what he gave me. So we'll be good. Thank you all. Appreciate every one of you. No, it's not. No, it's not alignment. He was very clear. It's just a pinch. He said I could have tweaked it somehow and didn't even realize I tweaked it. And it is what it is. I'm beaten. I'm hurting.